Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Proximity with Ken Joslin. This is Ken. I am your host and super excited to be able to jump into week 4 of our 14 frequencies of proximity series. Now, this is based on my new book that gets launched in September, 14 frequencies of proximity. So this is week 4, frequency number 4. So if you've missed week 1, 2, or 3, let me give you a quick recap on what we've talked about so far. So this entire book was based off of a talk I've been doing probably for the past 2.5 to 3 years. Proximity is a cheat code. Because what I did, guys, is I started looking at all the relationships in my life, and I started looking at all the different moments in my life where my life went to the next level. Guys, it was always tied to a relationship. If you've listened to this podcast, you've been to Create, you've been at one of our live events online or in person at our GSD HQ in Alpharetta, you know my journey over the past 5.5 years, I've dropped 100 pounds of body fat. Well, you look at that journey, guys, there's no way in the world I would have been able to take that journey and find some success in my personal health journey without great relationships with guys like Gary Brecka. And it's no coincidence that I met Gary at the very beginning. I've been on my health journey about 6-8 months. The very beginning of my health journey when I met Gary. And he has been a constant throughout my health journey, not just in losing weight, but my testosterone, my peptides, my sleep, everything across the board. It's been a great relationship. So the entire premise of this book, if you have ever worked with a key fob, you've walked up to your pool in your subdivision or your workplace, when you take that key fob and you put that key fob near the card reader, there is what's called a 14-bit proxy code. 14 frequencies that go from that key fob in your hand to the card reader. Now, when those 14 frequencies match, the card reader clicks or buzzes, you can hear the door, the lock unlatch, and you get to open the door and go to the next level. And relationships are exactly the same. So what we've done is we've really looked at 14 frequencies or 14 attributes that we have to be able to build the right relationships that we need in our life to fulfill what God has called us to fulfill. So we went through the first 3 frequencies so far, and all of these frequencies in the book, guys, are based off of or find a home inside of our core 5 framework: faith, health, relationships, business, and finances. So let's hit those real quick. Faith, your relationship with Christ, the most important relationship you have. Second thing is health, your relationship with yourself. How are you taking care of yourself? I love it's coined to Abraham Lincoln, although they're not sure who said it. But they said, Abe, if you had 6 hours to chop down a tree, what would you do? And Abraham Lincoln said, I would spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe. Guys, if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of the other people that God's called us to take care of. And that's in our family, our home, our business, our communities, all of those things. The third thing is relationships. How do we take care of the people that we love? Fourth is going to be your business. How do we steward the relationships with the people who work on our team? And then fifth is, and lastly, is finances. How is my relationship with money? How do I handle and steward? It's not about creating wealth or building this big treasure chest, if you will. It's about stewardship. God, you've given me the resources to manage and steward. I don't own these resources. These are not mine. God, how would you like for me to steward those? So inside of those 5 core areas, each of these 14 frequencies, they find a home and they live there. So the first couple that we talked about was faith. That's the foundation frequency. It is the foundation of everything that we do. We also hit on forgiveness, which I call the reset frequency. That was last week's podcast episode, the reset frequency. Forgiveness is a massive thing for us as Christ followers. And look in the book of Matthew where Jesus talks about the parable of the unforgiving servant. We have to forgive. We don't have a choice. And so I just walked through some scripture, some foundational scripture, because I really believe that the way that we forgive is filtered through the lens of how we feel and understand that we've been forgiven. So let's jump into frequency number 4. I want to talk about consistency. Now, consistency probably in our planner, if you use our planner, inside of our planner is watermarked on the day timer, incremental, not monumental. It's actually in our new studios, our new HQ that we just opened up in Alpharetta. There's an 18-foot wall that has the incremental, not monumental definition. Small, daily, disciplined decisions over time always equal monumental results. Success cannot escape you when you do the right things every single day. And guys, if I've learned anything in my health journey, in building GSD, in becoming the #1 faith-based entrepreneur conference, mastermind, community on the planet, what I've learned is consistency wins. It always wins. I'll take you back, December the 10th, 2019. I had gotten invited by Grant Cardone. I was in Grant's first ever mentorship program. I think it was 12 weeks, about $1,000. 12 weeks, there were 1,200-ish, 1,300 people in this group. And Grant asked me, actually Sherry Ennis, who ran Grant's mentorship program, he said, I want you to find me 12 of the top mentees that we have in this program. I want you to invite them to come down to 10X headquarters in Aventura. And I would like for Ken Joslin to be able to speak to my entire team, which I did. I've done that several times for Grant. That's really where the vision to start GSD came from. I want you to do this, God told me one day, for faith-based entrepreneurs. But I'll never forget, and I'll go back to this story. 12 of us were sitting in horseshoe. They've got the tables like lined off on horseshoe style. Grant is sitting in front of us. We're there with Grant and his senior leadership team for the entire day. I had just spoken to 180 plus, his whole staff, whole team, everybody in his organization. I had just spoke to them that morning. And so we're sitting there and Grant goes around the table for all 12 people. What's your vision? What are you wanting to do? Tell us what your 2-year goal, 3-year goal. He just wanted to know, what's your vision? And I'll never forget going around the table and hearing some of the vision, seeing some of the talent that was sitting at that table was extraordinary. Number one, to be the only one Grant asked for by name, absolutely amazing. But to hear the stories and the people that were sitting in that room that day was just like, oh my God, is my dream big enough? And guys, here we are 6 years later, 6 years later, 6.5 years later, to be exact, 6.5 years later. And out of those 12 people, I still have relationships with a couple of them, but no one has done what we've done. And it's not because I'm more talented. It's not because I have better gifts or I have resources and finances. There is one thing behind it, and one thing only, that's consistency. It is that incremental, not monumental concept. Small, daily, disciplined decisions over time always equal monumental results. Success cannot escape you when you do the right things every single day. And that spans all 5 areas of our core 5 framework: faith, health, relationship, business, and finances. Guys, I didn't lose 100 pounds in 6 months. It took me several years to do that. I didn't get my fitness, my physical health, my mental health, all of those things in alignment. It takes time. So I want to jump into really our foundational scripture in this, and I love this. Galatians chapter 6 in verse 9. Galatians chapter 6 and verse 9. Paul writes to the church at Galatians, this is what he says. He goes, do not grow weary in doing good, for in due season you will reap a harvest if you don't. And I'm going to put my word in there, if you don't quit. Guys, I was sitting with a good friend of mine playing cards one time, and this guy, CEO of a massive company, his own private jet, on the board at Bain Capital with Mitt Romney, one of the largest hedge funds in America. And I'm asking him questions like, tell me, what was the interview process like? Give me a little bit of an understanding. When you got the call from Bain Capital to sit on their board, what was that process like? And he just walked me through all of the assessments and things that he did. He said it was grueling. And I'll never forget this. He said, Ken, do you know what the #1 characteristic that they're looking for their C-suite people and their board members at Bain Capital? He said, it's grit. It's grit. It's resilience. It's consistency. You just don't quit. Because as Norm said on Cheers, he goes, listen, it's a dog-eat-dog world out there, and I'm wearing milk-bone underwear. And some days, guys, you're going to feel like you're crushing it, and some days you're going to feel like you're getting kicked in the teeth. And I'm telling you, I coach 14 of the top 101 of the 14 of the top faith-based entrepreneurs in America. Guys doing high 7, 8, and even 9-figure businesses. And to a man, like literally 2 months ago, it's like every one-on-one, I do one-on-ones with these guys every other week for 30 minutes. Every one-on-one I'm doing, every one of these guys are getting punched in the mouth, literally getting the wind knocked out of them. What do? Stay consistent. Jump into, lean into. Anytime you feel like you're getting crushed, small, daily, disciplined decisions over time always equal monumental results. I heard Rick Warren say this one time. He said, guys, he's speaking to a group of pastors, and he said, guys, we tend to overestimate what we can do in the short term, and we almost always underestimate what we can do in the long term. So I want you to process through that. Galatians 6:9, do not grow weary in doing good, for in due season you will reap a harvest if you do not give up. Listen, guys, due season belongs to the consistent. Due season belongs to, because I can go back to that meeting with Grant, December the 10th, 2019, and I can tell you, because there's one guy, Bay Area guy, dear friend, he was a great communicator. He had this big vision that he wanted to do, and man, he came out the gate hot. We're doing this online thing, and I'm dropping this book, and we're doing this coaching group, and we're doing this thing, and we're doing this, and I'm going to help you perfect your pitch, doing all of those things. And then it's all of a sudden like he disappeared. I didn't see him for 6 months. And then he came back on the scene, and he had this next new thing. And then he would disappear, and I wouldn't see him for 3, 4, 5, 6 months. One time it was over a year before I heard from him again. Guys, consistency belongs. Due season belongs to us who are consistent. And you're not always going to feel like you win. That's why in our planner, I created wins, 1% better, goals, and the scoreboard every single day in our planner. Because you need to be focused on wins. I don't care if they're massive wins or small wins. We need to be focused on the wins. Guys, here's my story. Over 100 pounds of body fat lost. I feel absolutely amazing. In the gym, I feel amazing. I'm seeing, like even in my arms, I used to hate back and bis. When I'm working with back and bis now, especially on my one arm supported rows with 100-pound dumbbells, with my grips on so my grip strength can actually hold on to them. And then I hated, I've got a torn bicep. I hated working bis. But my arms, like I look down at my arms now, I can see the development in my physical body, guys, after over 18 months of busting my tail in the gym. Nutrition, my peptides. I've been on the retatrutide GLP off and on for the last 6 months, which has helped me kind of curb an appetite because I love some food. I tell people all the time I have the same spiritual gifts as Jesus. I like to eat and I like to hang out. So the story, 100 pounds down, guys, it is a game changer. So we're going to take a hard stop, talk about my book, 14 Frequencies of Proximity. We'll be right back. Okay, guys, let's talk about how do I apply incremental, not monumental. The consistency frequency, because consistency, guys, is the momentum frequency. If you want to gain momentum, we have to be consistent. So here's what I want you to do. I'm going to walk you through the same thing I'd walk every single one of my corner members through. Break it down. If you got a pen, paper, write it down right now. Core 5 framework: faith, health, relationships, business, and finances. Write those 5 down. And then here's what I want you to do. What is one habit or one thing you need to implement today? Write it down in each of those 5 areas. In my faith, what do I want to be? Guys, I hopped on, I just literally finished sitting here at my desk. I've got my Bible right here and just finished my devotion this morning. I'm in Luke chapter 11. I am 856 days in a row in my YouVersion app. 856 days. Just get started. Set a timer. Like, where do you want to be in your faith journey? In your health journey, what do you want to see happen? Guys, listen, 80 some odd % of people, when they set New Year's resolutions, quit before day 21. Second week, they're done. Over 80%. Why? Because they don't see the results. Guys, listen, I say this all the time. Everywhere I speak, corporates, churches, my own events, I'm going to share something with you today that I promise you, if you'll grab a hold of this frequency, the consistency frequency, the momentum frequency, if you'll grab hold of this principle, incremental, not monumental, and apply it to your life, it will bring transformation every time. Now, the transformation is not going to be sexy, and it may not get here as quick as you think it should or as fast as you want it to, but I promise you it will come. So walk through those core 5 frameworks: faith, health, relationship, business, and finances. One goal. What's one thing I want to add to and be consistent on in each of these areas? Listen, guys, don't set this massive, I would say, Grant 10X goal. Just set a goal that you can achieve. Create some wins in your life. Guys, listen, what gets tracked gets stewarded well. We steward well when we can track exactly what it is that we're wanting to do. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to trade this mindset of, I just want to have this massive this massive monumental growth. I want to be an anomaly. And there are anomalies out there, guys. There are people that plant churches and they explode. There are people who do businesses and they explode. But even when, in those kind of moments when they explode, it still is going to reveal the systems and the process that are behind those things, because growth always reveals and exposes systems and processes. So how do I apply it? Pick one area or pick one thing in each of those core 5 areas and go, okay, how can I be more consistent this week? Write it down, literally put it in your phone, set a timer, use a planner. If you don't have a planner, go to growstatdrive.com/free. You can go in our learning. You can download a digital copy of my planner, absolutely free, does not cost you a thing. Also, if you're a business owner, I want to encourage you, go grab this book. Walk your team. If you're not walking your team through books on a consistent basis, our team's reading The Ideal Team Player right now by Pat Lencioni. 3 or 4 months ago, we went through Will Guidara's book, Unreasonable Hospitality. One of the best books I've read in a very long time. Grab a copy of this book for each of your team members. Walk through one frequency a week for the next 2 to 3 months and really hone in and drill down on each frequency. How can I become better in my faith, my foundation frequency? How can I get better on forgiveness, which I call the reset frequency? How can I get better and be more consistent, which is the momentum frequency? Guys, can't wait to see you next week. Thanks for joining me on Proximity with Ken Joslin. We'll see you next week.